And hi there, welcome back to the Lane Changer series. Today's is about Elana Harte and is subtitled Changing Lanes on the Being of Service Highway. If you're in the co-op housing sector, you'll know Elana Harte, the Executive Director of the Central Ontario Co-operative Housing Federation, or COCHF for short. But wait, you ask, is that the Elana Harte whose group, the Sling Sisters, released their first album last week? Or the Elana Harte who fronts one Bowie tribute band and plays guitar in another? Or the Elana Harte who chaired your last co-op meeting? Or the Elana Harte who consults for the Danforth Creative Commons? Yup, and more. Buckle up. We're about to embark on some next level life highway driving. I first met Elana when she worked at Riverdale's Bain Co-op, and I helped with their legal issues. She discovered the co-op in the aughts and recalls it as a, oh my gosh, what is happening moment in her life. Co-op housing just made so much sense to her, and especially when it involved living in Bain's historic workers' cottages, which were built a century ago and converted to a nonprofit housing co-op in 1977. For the decades she lived there, she saw the amazing things regular people, co-opers, are capable of in their own lives and for their community. Elana took a Bain staff position, which morphed into an interim management role. Next was a professional move to Margaret Lawrence Housing Co-op, another of my former clients, also in downtown Toronto, where she stayed through COVID-19. Elana's not someone to land forever, though, so when the ED role at COCHF became vacant, she filled it temporarily and then ultimately applied for and was hired as their permanent staffer. All spheres of government recognize Canada's housing crisis now and see nonprofit co-op housing as part of the solution. Co-op development has been on hiatus for so long, nearly no one of our generation, Elana's a 66 baby just like me, has any development experience. That's not stopping her, though. Her goal is to be responsible for developing 1,000 units of housing. So she's become expert in financing models, including community bonds, building relationships with partner developers, funders and governments, planning processes, legal issues, including incorporating 2 new developing co-ops the day of our interview, and everything else that goes along with the development process. Add another set of skills to her already jam-packed resume. Elana began building that resume 5 decades ago when she conceived of and organized a yard sale where vendors paid her a 5% commission on sales. Not bad for age 8. A decade later, after uni in her hometown of Montreal, she spent 6 years working part-time with autistic children and then running a youth center. What followed next was a brief detour into the for-profit world, working for an insurance broker, then as a travel agent, and finally 5 years as Canadian sales manager for Wenger Corporation, a Minneapolis-based manufacturer of products and services focused on music education and performing arts. The private sector held little allure for Harte, though. Inspired by children's author Maurice Sendak's classic Higgledy-Piggledy Pop, or There Must Be More to Life, Harte knew she had to find ways to improve the world, not profit from it. That's the being of service theme that drives her. Elana started singing publicly at age 14 and was signed by a recording label in her early 20s. Her style is hard to pin down. She's comfortable as Bowie in her group I Will Be King, or playing backup in Bowie Lives. She's the leader of the Sling Sisters, performing many original songs with a style best described as country with a twist. She reports having 6 other groups that she plays with at least sporadically. Yikes. Elana's a born performer, and it's because of her infectious on-stage persona that I know for a fact you can bruise your hand with a tambourine. At least that was my experience the last time I was one of a group of co-opers on stage with the Sling Sisters at a housing event. Being a full-time musician is an unfulfilled dream for most, including Elana Harte. But just like fellow lane changer opera singer Michelle Simmons, whom I profiled recently, to supplement performance income, Harte found 11 years of music-adjacent work as part-time operations manager for Toronto's Exultate Chamber Singers. Now, though, she fills that financial gap with co-op work and a little consulting on the side, including at the Danforth Creative Commons, the boutique creative co-working space where she recently produced the Sling Sisters album. DCC is in the Danforth neighborhood where Elana lives with her wife of 5 years. Oh yeah, Elana has a personal life too, including surviving cancer twice and co-parenting her young adult son with her ex. And she's a volunteer director at the Housing Services Corporation. Isn't that a lot, I asked, feeling pretty grateful she'd found time for our interview. No, not too much. She plans her time carefully, and frankly, nothing phases Elana Harte. She's quick to point out that when it does, she fixes it or moves on. Will she move on again, I asked. She doesn't rule out a political run, she says with a grin. And what better way to fulfill the drive to be of service? Thanks for watching.